team? Let me know in the chat since we're talking about teams just real quick. I'm curious. On a team, we're on a team, run your own team. I'd love to know. Drop it in the chat. And let's get those videos on so we can see you. But yeah, I mean, for me, Joe, a lot of it comes from it's comes from my faith. The reason why I run the team the way I do is I'm a Christian, and I think that God's really clear about independence, and that our goal should not be to control but to amplify people. And so for me, hey Linda, good to see you. So for me, I looked at the team because I ran a mega team, the traditional mega team, and it was not good for me, and I didn't feel it was good for the agents personally. It made money, so don't get me wrong there. The business side was good, but the moral, spiritual weight of it didn't fit what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So then I tried to just run a smaller team using the big team model. I'll
Yep.
just keep the team smaller, but have the big team resources. Same problem. And so eventually I was like, I'll just go to the Bible. I kid you not. I was like, I'll go to the Bible and I'm going to see how I believe from I can extract information from here how God says to run a team. And that I applied those principles and our profit margins went from 15 to 20% to 90%.
Yeah.
And then agents just the agents who wanted to do better did better without me having to be panicking about micromanaging them and all of that stuff. And that just resonated so much deeper because I spent more time talking about the person than the process.
Yep.
And for me, I want to develop leaders. I do. That's why I'm part of why I'm here with you guys today, by the way. And I do this every Wednesday. I don't get paid for this. I've never tried to recruit any of you guys. Part of why I do this is because I know you guys are leaders in your own right. And I want to support that. And Joe, I know that's part of your thing. You love to build leaders too. I know that you love to lead.
Yeah, I really think in this industry, especially, although, it certainly translates to a lot of industries, you're going to get two types of agents. The agent who wants to absolutely crush their business, build, grow, always challenge themselves. It's not even necessarily about money. It's about, and I'm the same way. Like, money is the metric that's easiest to follow. So it's certainly a
Yes.
part of my business plan. But every year, I just want to do something bigger and better. Maybe it's the money, maybe it's the closings, maybe it's the listings, maybe it's the profit, whatever it is. I just need the challenge. It's not
I
the
was just
money.
gonna
It's
say it's the challenge. It's the
it's
challenge.
the
It's
number beating last year's number, whatever that number is,
yeah.
because I just need a game to play, right? But you either get agents that buy into that and truly want, they'll all say they want that, but probably 70, 80% of agents, and I do my darndest to try to tweak mindsets around this. 70, 80% of agents just want to feel like they're business owners, but really what they want is a Joe or a Robert leading a team, leading a brokerage, telling them exactly what to do, like an employer would tell an employee.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the fear to be their own CEO, or it's the lack of confidence, or it's the lack of being around entrepreneurship enough, entrepreneurship mindset enough. I don't know what it is, but I find that as a team leader, at least and a lot of the team leaders that I've talked to say the same thing. You don't attract those alphas very often because if they want to go do their own thing, they've already got the confidence. Even if they don't know what the
Yeah.
hell they're doing, they're going to go build their own team or they're going to go do the single agent thing. They don't need you, or at least that's their mindset, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of them will succeed. They got the alpha mindset. They'll figure it out. Um, but the people coming to teams, I really try to drive into them like, hey, I am here and I will help you, but I'm not your boss. This is not an employer employee mindset, and you should
Yeah.
not want that. You're driving your own ship. And I'm just another, just like you pick a home inspector who you hope does a great job for your clients, and you pick a lender and you pick a title company, and this is your team, right? I'm just another guy that you have hired to guide you on your path
Yep.
by sharing some of the things that I did. But this is not Joe's business. It's your business, and you've got to take that mentality on. I just,
Love it.
God, if there's one thing I can drill in, it's get out
I
of that
know.
employee mindset. Go get your own business rolling, man.
I love talking about those things too. It's like we're about to pivot today's call to. Uh, I love that idea though. Maybe you and I will do a call about that sometime where we'll just talk about, I know we both share similar core
Mindset.
values, but we do have different approaches, and I think that's very
Yeah.
healthy.
Yep.
So, um, well, good morning, everybody. Um, let's get this started. I'm going to quick preface of why we're doing this call. Um, because sometimes I just do calls because they bring value, but there's not necessarily a timing on it. It's just would be a good call for you guys to know, and here's the thing to learn. This is a timing thing. So it's a great call with great value, but there's also a timing. How many of you, I think that's my next question on the slides. Let me check. How many price drops you or other agents have you seen in your market lately? So drop that in the chat for me real quick. Just how many price drops you're seeing. And then I'm going to give you a general national one, okay? And that is that Zillow says in the next 30 days. And just so you know, Zillow, we make fun of the Zestimate. I understand that. But Zillow's data, as far as homeowners, home ownership, buyer demographics, stuff like that, is actually really good. Zillow's very good at that data. So they were terrible at Zestimate, but think of that as like an entirely different company almost. The Zestimate and the buy a cash offer program, that was an entirely different company than Zillow, what Zillow does, just to be clear. Zillow's data about audiences, demographics, markets is phenomenal. It's very, very good. So they say in the next 30 days, one out of every three homes, at least. This is just a national average, so it will be higher in many areas. For instance, in Nashville, where I'm at, we're going to see probably bigger price drops. Why? We've been hot longer than most places, which means we'll tend to have a much steeper correction. Not a crash. Won't people fool you there. A steeper correction. Duh, right? When you have a really high and it needs to adjust, it can't adjust a little bit, right? It has to have a big adjustment. So for you, those of you who have been in a relatively steady market, you'll probably see less price drops, but you'll still see price drops. But one in three homes in the next 30 days. So can we all agree that that's a pretty immediate thing happening? And where does that data come from? So that's based off of the trend of the last 3 months. So it's not just a guess, right? This is not us guessing what Jerome Powell's going to do with rate cuts. This is just based off of what homeowners are telling us, home buyers are telling us in the last 3 months. So that trend is showing us. And going into winter, which tends to be slightly slower than summer, we really have some confidence that these numbers are probably going to be pretty accurate, right? So one in three homes. Now I see too many from Abby. I feel that. Where are you, Abby? Turn on the camera. I'd love to see you. Linda says a lot, 43%. Good number. Where'd you come up with 43%? Were you just checking your market and stuff? Or you just felt like 43% just sounded good?
That's that realtor confidence. I like that.
Abby in Indiana, love it. I know the realtor confidence. I love it. 70% of our local sales have had one plus price reductions. You're in Florida, right, Joe?
Yeah, Port St.
That
Lucie.
makes sense. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Super hot market. Um, been way hot for a long time compared to a lot of other places.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. While let's say California, right, they've been price dropping for years. I mean, right? So it's not going to look as big of a gap as what Joe and I are going to see in our markets because we've been hot for a long time, and people still feel like there's still the seller disillusionment, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, like, but my house will be different. My house will be the one house on the street where everybody else is at price drops. Well, we can come out above. Yeah. All right. So this is good. So guys, this is why we're doing this call, right? If you see price drops and feel dread, panic, or total indifference, great, stick around. You want a strategy that very few agents use, and I can't emphasize that enough. Very few agents use. Abby, what's up? I'm so glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. Very few agents use, despite, and Joe is living proof of this, that it works so well. And then maybe you just rather follow a simple script that's not complicated. Because I've always felt that some lead gen strategies, they actually try to make them sound complicated so they can justify selling you a more expensive course.
Spot on.
But man, guys, there are very few lead gen strategies that work. Let me emphasize that work that are also complicated. And do you know why? Because one, agents are simple. We are simple. We need a simple process. Duh. Our clients are simple. So when you try to put a complicated strategy for people who prefer a simple one, it tends to not work. Simple is just almost always better. Okay. All right. So now let's get into it. 4 commitments for being on the call, guys. Okay. So number 1 is video on. We are missing some videos here. Let's get them on. I'm going to call some people out. Alec, Bill, is it Neha? Is that how it Neha? Neha? How do I say that? Type in the chat for me with the so I can say it right. I'd love to. Debbie, Isabella, Carrie, Linda, Lisa, Marcus, Michelle, Monica, Oksana. Let's get those. Michelle, there you are. Neha. Or is it Neha? Right? Okay. Sweet. Thank you, Neha. Bill, there we go. I love it, guys. Thanks so much for turning it on. It's a little treat for Joe and I. It makes us feel less lonely. All right, so next thing is distractions off. Okay, I know you guys did not show up to a call just to sabotage yourself. You're too smart for that, right? You're too smart, right? I mean, and by the way, guilty for many times. And then I leave the call and I go, I didn't learn anything. Well, I probably wasn't paying attention if I'm being honest. Okay, because I will promise you what we'll teach you today is very simple. So it will not be. Oh, I just lost internet for a second. You guys got me? That was weird. My internet just cut off. Am I still here? Okay. That was so weird. It came up and was like, your internet's gone. Participate. We're going to be asking questions. We might even do a little bit of role playing. Just a little fun there. You're going to have a good time. And then one of the most important ones is just go make someone's day, just like we're doing for you. Okay? Joe and I are not getting paid for this. This is just time that we make from our business, from our families, from our whatever we have to do to bless you because we know we have been blessed and we would like to pay that forward. We would like to keep that going. So, what I'm curious about, type in the chat for me, is how many times have you seen a price drop and felt like it was either a lost cause or just not worth the effort? Meaning maybe you saw someone else's. I'm scrolling through my MLS and I see Joe's price drop and I just go, whatever. Right? Or maybe you have a price drop and you just go like, fingers crossed, I hope this works. Right? Neither of those make you money most of the time, just so you know. Most price drops, Joe, I'd love for your thoughts on this. From my experience, let me emphasize that most price drops are always too late. Not that they don't work eventually, but they're always too late. Most price drops that I've seen, they come weeks after sitting on the market, and there's a lot of dead weight now, right? There's dead time. Joe, what do you think? Do you think price drops tend to be spot on, or do you think they tend to come a little late?
Well, the good news of a price drop is you're moving in the right direction and hopefully you're doing it in alignment with the motivation of the seller, right? You shouldn't always do a price drop, but if that seller's truly motivated to get it sold, then yeah, you should do it. But the bad news is, yeah, if you're dropping the price, statistics show that let's just take $500,000 as a price point. If that property is supported by comps as being worth $500,000 and you list it at 5, 10, 5, 25, 35, 50, and it takes time, 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is, before you drop to that $500,000 price point, statistically speaking, you're going to average less than $500,000 in sales price, meaning it was the wrong decision. And I get it. Everybody, especially people who don't have experience in real estate, we've seen it as people who do have experience. Everybody wants the strategy of, hey, it's worth 5. Let's start at 5 and a quarter. That way we've got some wiggle room. We can negotiate, right? That strategy, especially in a weaker market, is not statistically the best strategy. The best strategy is to list it right from the first day, because that first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to get as much, in my experience, you're going to get as much attraction, as much showings, as much activity, calls, texts, emails in that first 3 weeks that you're going to get in the next 5 months, right, of a 6 month
It's also
listing.
psychology, right? Of how we perceive value. So let's say that I go
Mhm.
to Joe. I'm seeking Joe out and I'm like, "Joe, I want to hire you to work at my company." Right? And then Joe says, "No, I'm not, I'm worth more." Okay? And then Joe comes back to me and says, "You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I want to work at your company." Now, my perception of value for Joe has diminished significantly,
Yep.
even though he's still the same guy. That's just how our psychology works. Like, that's just how we are as humans, right? And so, like, you'd be hard pressed. I kid you not. And I listen, I've lived this, so I'm telling you my data, my facts, right? Is I've went, had a home that was way too high priced, right? Turned around and roughly knew where it should be and tried to get people at the higher price, right? Of course, that's my job, right? And then go back to those people when we do a price drop. But guess what they want to do? Come in below the price drop even.
Yep.
Right? So it's like that because their perception of value, even if they were willing to pay, right, what the price drop was, that would have been their first offer. Now that price drop has happened, their perception of the value has come. And so now
Weaker.
what could have sold at 500 had we just done it right, now is selling at 475, 480 because that perception of value to a buyer who would have paid 500 initially. So we say all of this. I'm going to skip ahead through the scenario because I feel like we did this. We say all this because this is happening in our market and we cannot avoid it and we cannot run for it. And in fact, the way I like Joe's approach is he says, let's run to it. Let's run to the price drops and turn them in to two more listings. All right. So when you see a price drop, I want you to say this with me. Things need to change. Okay. I hope you all said that out loud. So your brain is already telling yourself things that need to change when I look at price drops. And they will give you the quick stats that we talked about. Zillow, I already talked about that one. 1 in 3 homes will see a price drop in the next 30 days. And that is the trend. And we're going into winter and holidays. So if you think that that's not where we're headed, listen, let's reframe that mindset. Okay. Homes with a price reduction will tend to attract, though. So here's the good thing, they can still attract a new set of eyes
Yep.
because they are going into a lower price bracket. So you have a new chance. So it's not that all hope is lost. It's just a different kind of opportunity has presented itself, right? And then who likes to have little to no competition? I'm being real with you. Like, who likes to have little to no competition? You don't go like, oh, I hope there's 20 agents coming in for a listing appointment, right? Okay, this strategy will give you little to no competition. People just don't do this. There's typically only one Joe in a market that will do this. There might be 2 or 3, maybe, but it is not common. It's not common. Not common. Because price drops, just to be clear, aren't problems to avoid. They're openings to step in and win business others overlook. So now let's get into the actual strategy. We're going to just bullet through this. So the first one is obviously you got to find a price drop. I'm going to let Joe kind of take that over. I've got a little bullet points here. But Joe, talk about how you go and find these price drops.
Yeah, so honestly, for me, a lot of them are my own, right? Or my team's, because we've got a lot of listing inventory. And so there's motivation there. And we use that as part of our listing presentation, right? So when you talk about price drops, it's kind of a nasty thing to talk about. It's not a fun thing to talk about, especially before you've even listed the property, right? In the listing presentation. But when you can say, listen, there's 5 reasons that we're going to call 3 to 500 of your neighbors to drum up some excitement for your property. And 3 of those reasons are a new listing, B, an open house, and C, when you drop your price. Now, when that listing client hears that, the request from you 3 weeks into a listing when you haven't gotten what you want, which is an offer to drop the price, is met with a little more excitement than what you're normally used to, because now it doesn't just come with me taking a beating as a seller. It comes with, yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of a beating, but man, I get 3 to 500 new, fresh, exciting calls from Joe,
Yes.
which is kind of exciting, right? So you can do that with anybody's, though. Maybe you're a brand new agent, or maybe you just don't have a lot of listings that you've got in your inventory. Cool. you're probably with a brokerage that has a couple agents with some listing inventory. Even if you're not, maybe you've got a friend at another brokerage. If not, my gosh, you're an agent. Go make some friends, right? That's your problem. Go get some coffee with some friends. But all you've got to do is say, hey, Robert, we're with the same company here. I see you've got 4 listings. 2 of them just dropped their price. Do you have any problem with me calling around that listing and just seeing if I can drum up some showings for you? Robert's crazy to say no, right? Of course he's gonna, Joe, whatever, go nuts, baby, call. So what you're gonna do, and I use RedX, although there's other companies you can use, is I go to RedX and I don't even know what they charge. I can't remember. I've been using them now for almost 7 years. But you can go in and you can draw a circle around the property, or if it's an HOA, you can go around, the specific gate line or whatever you want. And I usually get 3 to 500 numbers, and I can call through that in about, I do about 80 to 100 numbers an hour, right? So if you've got 500, you're probably, what's that taking? Probably 5 to 7 hours to get through that. So that's like 2 days of prospecting, maybe 3. All right. So you're going to get through all those calls. And it's really simple. Don't overthink this. Every agent's like, what's the script? And I'll give you what I say, but don't
Don't worry,
overthink
we
it.
got that coming up.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah,
When
don't
you
worry. So
have a
step one
script,
is just finding the price drops. We're gonna
yeah,
find those price drops. Like Joe said, it can be your own, it could be your team's, it could be your brokerage. Most agents are migrating over to bigger brokerages, which means you'll
mhm,
have a bigger pool.
yep, that's
And
helpful.
most brokerages already have clauses in there that say you can actually advertise. Not all of them, so just ask your broker, but most of them do, because it's just better for their business. And again, like Joe said, you're an agent. Just go make some phone calls. You don't even have to use agents that are at your brokerage. You don't have to, because you're not co-listing with them, which is usually where you'll run into problems. You're just saying, can I go and help basically market? I'm asking if I can help market your price drop. It's a huge advantage for the agent, the listing agent. And if they're smart, they go, hey, if Joe's my client, I'm gonna be like, hey, Joe, by the way, I know we just did the price drop, and I wanted you to know I'm very diligent, and I've got people calling. That's what I would do. If someone came to me and said they wanted to market my price drop, I would spin that around as a positive for my seller ASAP, for they know, because it was 100% true. I do have people calling, right? Even if it wasn't part of the plan, it's part of the plan now.
No, that's right.
Right? So I love that. Okay, so now we need to find your contacts. So how do we get the people that you're going to call? Because you said you go and call them. Now you mentioned briefly already RedX. There's Vulcan. A lot of CRMs, right? Will also have these kind of geo services where you can kind of put in an address and it'll populate. So a lot of them are doing that. What are some other ways that you go and kind of decide, or how do you decide who to call? Let me ask you that. Who do you call when you're prospecting these price drops?
Well, so there's 2 different lists that I call. The first list is going to be geographically focused solely, right? So again, if it's not in an HOA or a specific community, I'm probably just drawing a circle around it big enough to get 3 to 500 people. If it isn't an HOA or a specific community, then I'm going to draw an outline around that community and I'm going to call all of them. And honestly, I'm saying 3 to 500. If it's an 800 person community, I'm going to call 800, because I'm not just doing it to show my seller some goodwill. I'm doing it for me. And I
Yeah.
know that, like, so many people, when they hear the strategy, they're thinking, okay, cool. So I'm going to get a buyer or two. I'm going to get an extra showing out of it. And maybe I'm going to get an offer, right? And if they don't buy, I can go show them something else. Yeah, all that's true. But what I have found is, if I get 10 clients over time out of this strategy, 7 or 8 of them are going to be sellers first. 2 to 3 of
Mm-hmm.
them are going to be buyers first, right? I'm attracting sellers. Sellers are saying, man, here's a guy who's actually picking up the phone and calling. Here's a guy who's not just putting it on the MLS and hoping and praying that it's going to sell. He's actually physically doing some work that I don't see other agents do. And you're not professing it, you're showing it. You're letting them feel it by being the person who's called. So when you add that, and there's so many layers to this, right? Because we're talking today about some of the strategies you can do to attract clients when you get a price reduction, but you called that person, and then you're going to call them the next week when you have an open house, and then you're going to door knock them the day of the open house and say, hey, here's a flyer, come to the open house. all they're thinking is, doggone it, this guy works hard. Holy smokes. I know
Yeah.
my sister Sally sells houses, but I don't hear her doing any of this stuff. She's sitting out at the pool every day. I want the guy who's busting down doors and making phone calls. So yeah, not Sally. So you start to create this perception in all of these people in this community's minds around what it's like working with you versus others. So that's the first one geographically. The second one is because I've made 300 to 500 calls for 5 reasons. I mentioned three, but I'm going to mention two more: new
Okay.
listing, price reduction, open house, just under contract, just sold. For those 5 reasons, I'm calling the neighbors and letting them know why. Layers of, hey, look at me. I work my butt off for you. I want them to know I
Mm.
work my butt off for you, right? So now, over 7 years almost, I've built up an 80,000 person database. A lot of people hear 80,000 and they're like, that's crazy. How do you get 80,000? Because I'm committed every single time one of those 5 things happen: new listing, price reduction, open house, just under contract, just closed. I'm calling 300 to 500 people. When you do that through a service like RedX or whatever service it is you're using, you build up a database pretty doggone quick. It took me a year and a half. I was here where there were only 1 or 2 agents I knew who had bigger databases than me, and I didn't know anybody in this area. So now the
Mm-hmm.
second group that I can call, if you're with I did that on purpose for you, Abby. If you're with the right CRM, you can do what's called reverse prospecting. So now I got 80,000 people. Let's say 65,000 of them have email addresses. And let's say 60 of those 65 have searches. And if you don't
Yep.
have a search, automatically when you come into my database, you get a search attached to you, and it's for the entire city of Port St. Lucie, which is huge. And that's no accident, right? I actually got pitched this from I think it was Sierra when I was with Sierra, the CRM, and they said just put the whole city. You're either going to get people who are unsubscribing, which is going to happen no matter what, or they're going to get annoyed that they're getting all these listings and they're going to go in and tweak it so it fits exactly what they want, which is what you want. Now, when I get a listing,
Self-filtering.
exactly. Now, when I get a listing and it's 4 bedrooms, 450,000 with a pool and a half an acre, I can do what's called reverse prospecting. And every single one of those 60,000 that has a saved search where that listing fits their criteria, boom, I get a list. Okay.
So,
So
it made me
now
think there. Oh, go ahead. No, keep going.
So now I can do 3 things. The quick and simple thing, and this should be first because you want to follow up with the third thing, which is the phone call. The quick and simple thing is I make a beautiful text and it's got the link attached, and the link is a squeeze page, right? So for those who don't know what a squeeze page is, it's not just the MLS listing where they can go in and look. It's branded. It's got my branding, my colors, my logo, my beautiful face, which a lot of you guys got me beat on that already, on that link. And now you can look at 2 photos. When you go to look at photo number 3, you can't until you put in your name, email, and phone number. Right. So now I'm starting to get more info from people. I can use that on Facebook. I can use that on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Okay. So now I send that link out to everybody and then I send it in email as well. So if all I've got is a cell phone, okay, I guess I'm just texting it. If all I got is email, I guess I'm just emailing. If I got both, I'm sending it both. All right. And now, yes, most CRMs have the capacity to get this done. Use it. Beautiful. Thank you, Abby. So now the follow up, which this is where the money's made, right? And again, you're not just looking for buyers. I'm telling you, 70, 80% of this, you're knocking the doors off the hinges with people. They're thinking, holy smokes, this guy is aggressive. I want to hire
Mm-hmm.
him as my listing agent, because you're now following up with a phone call and you're saying, hey, Tom, I see that you've been in my database here for 2.5 years. You're looking for a home in that 4 to 450 range with a pool. We just listed one. I'd sent you a text and an email 2 days ago. Did you get that by chance? Yeah, I did, Joe. I haven't had a chance to open it yet, but I am going to take a peek at it. Great. Well, let me ask you this. Are you still looking to purchase, or is this something that's maybe in the future for you? No, we're looking. We got to be in the next 2, 3 months. We got to get in before school starts, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Well, let me ask you this. Would it be okay if I followed up with you tomorrow? I'll send you the text again just so you can take a look at the link. We do have a lot of interest in that property. We just dropped the price on it. I'd hate to see you lose it. And I'm here to help you win, man. Would it be all right if I followed up with you and saw if that was something you had interest in? Yeah, sure. Not a problem. Cool. I'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Great talking to you. Have an amazing day. If I can fit in some sort of if I know anything personal about him, his kids are in sports or he's a professional fisherman or whatever, I'm going to throw in 30 seconds of rapport building. If not, I'm going to get off the phone. I'm going to put him on my list for tomorrow and I'm going to get off the phone. But those are the two different lists that we're going after: geographically focused and reverse prospecting in my CRM.
So then before we jump into the script, let me recap it for you real quick, guys. So step one is you're just going to find the price drop. It does not matter for the most part who it is. Just call them and ask them, and most will say yes. Pretty simple. Okay. So don't overthink it. Don't be worrying about any of that. You see a price drop, that's your opportunity. Give them a call, get it done. Okay. Second is you're just going to I'm going to heavily encourage you to use a service than try to figure out this manually. It's very inefficient to try and like figure out how to get these numbers. RedX is not expensive. And you're going to make money from this. If you follow the process, you will make infinitely more than any of the pennies that you spend comparatively on RedX. Okay. Your CRM might have it. I don't know your CRM, so I'm going to recommend things we do know that works. RedX is one of them. Okay. And I don't get paid for saying that, just to be clear. So you're going to use RedX and you're going to just do a geographical location to get roughly about 500 people nearest the neighbors, as we call them, the neighbors, the 500 nearest neighbors to that property with the price reduction. And then you're going to call them. And what are you going to say? Joe, let's get into it. What do they
Yes.
actually say? The magic, right? It's words nobody's ever heard of before, and it's super complicated, and you need to say it in 3 different languages, right? It's a crazy, incredible, complicated script, right, Joe?
No. In fact, if I give you a script, you're going to have some word, some tone, some speed thing that I'm doing that you're not going to jive with. It's going to feel uncomfortable. I've heard people give scripts and I think, ugh, I don't like that. It feels scripty. It feels salesman-y. You need to do what works for you. Okay. If you like what I say, use it. Use it. Absolutely use it. But if there's something that just doesn't jive with your personality, what you're comfortable with, you have to change it because if you don't change it, it's not going to sound good coming off your lips.
Yep.
Okay. So you've got to change it. But don't overthink it either. Like this isn't math. Like honestly, you want to make sure you're not using horrible scripts, bad words, anything. So run it by somebody. I just really want what I don't want is I see so many agents that they don't practice their script. They don't practice anything. They get on the phone, they bumble it, and then they say, this doesn't work. It sucks. I'm not doing it anymore. And I think, man, if you put 5, 10 minutes into just thinking about what you want to say, write it out perfectly,
Yes.
practice it for 5 minutes before you get on the phone call with a smile, standing up straight, chest out, shoulders back, excitement in your lungs,
That's right.
it's going to be challenging for you to fail. Right. But if you don't do all those things and you fail, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means that you didn't put in the effort. You didn't work. Right. So just, I want to preface it with that. But okay. So what do I say?
All right, so
Um,
let's do the 30-second intro because obviously conversations can go on as long as we're talking.
sure.
But the icebreaker, right? Most people, their struggle isn't once the conversation's flowing because now they're talking and there's back and forth. It's how do I get this thing going? How do I do that? So, how about you and I role play real quick?
Sure. Ring, ring.
I'll be the seller and you'll be Joe Rosen. So,
Okay.
let's do
I'll
it.
call you up. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Joe Rosen. I'm a local realtor in your HOA here. You're in Bedford Park, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Say we just took a listing we've got on 3rd Street and dropped the price $20,000. I'm calling you because a lot of times it ends up being friends and family who buy, and I want to give the neighbors first crack at it. Do you have any friends or family interested in a home in your neighborhood right now?
I mean, not off the top of my head, but it's not like I've really thought about it. I mean, maybe my sister. I don't know.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Would it be okay if I followed up with you in a day or two and just asked if your sister would be interested? Or maybe even better, would it be possible if I reached out to her?
I mean, I don't know if she wants me to give you her number, but if you follow up with me, I'm gonna see her tomorrow and I'll ask her.
Yeah, fair enough. That sounds good. We'd love to get her. Well, let me ask you first. Do you want her in this neighborhood? Maybe I'm selling the wrong thing here.
Yeah, that was funny. Um, man, that would make anybody laugh.
You've got to do stuff like that. And that stuff that's hard to coach. But I just turned you from serious, I don't think I want to connect you with my sister, which most of us would say, to laughing and saying, I don't know, let me think about this myself. Then
No,
whatever you
my
say,
sister's great. Yeah. And most of the time, yeah. Wow, that was really good, Joe. You didn't do that last time either, so I love that. You guys see, I didn't let him off the hook either. I was being pretty realistic. I've done my cold calling too.
which is
I was
great.
being pretty realistic so that you guys didn't hear me go, "Oh, it's Joe. I love you, Joe. Of course, come sell my house right now, and I'm buying that one, and I've got 10 family members and they're all ready to buy as well." No, I was being realistic in the calls that I've experienced and the calls that you will likely experience, which is short one-word responses. Yeah, no,
Yep.
maybe. Always vague, often vague. Answering the question with nothing solidified. Maybe my sister might, maybe I might know someone. I don't know if I really want to go through the hassle or piss her off because they gave her the number of a real estate agent, right? Connected, right? So I was being realistic, but the moment he made me laugh, and I'm telling you this is honest as Robert now, the moment he made me laugh, I was like, man, I kind of want to keep talking to this guy now.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just feel like maybe he's not a threat anymore,
Yep. Yeah, and I
right?
always like to look at it, and you're all going to think different things, but I like to look at it as the knowledgeable, helpful uncle, right? That's what I'm kind of thinking of as I'm calling. So I do want to be knowledgeable, I do want to be helpful, but I know at least for myself, my uncles gave us a hard time growing up. They teased us relentlessly. They were fun to be around, constant joking. You don't want to go crazy, but you want to have a little personality, and I can't coach you through that. You either got it or you don't. And a lot of you too will have it, but it doesn't come out in your cold calls, your circle prospecting, because you're so nervous. And you're nervous
Yes.
because you're not fully prepared. And you're not fully prepared because you either haven't done role play, you haven't prepared your scripts, or you haven't had enough reps. So the obvious answer to fixing that is go to role play, practice your scripts, make a bunch of calls nervous and failing. It's okay. And all of that nervousness will go away and all of that confidence will come in. Now your personality will start to shine through, the actual personality you know you have. And when you get off that call session, you're like, why did I freeze up? Why was I so stiff? It's
Yeah.
because you're nervous and you don't have those three things. You're going to get them over time. You've got to work for them. But once you have them, I promise your personality will come back.
Who wants a copy of this script, by the way? The actual full script. Drop yes in the chat. We'll drop it. We're gonna put it in the newsletter for you too, and so we'll put it the newsletter subscribe link in there. Misa, can you drop that in the chat for them, the subscribe link? And then on Friday we'll send you guys the full script. Joe shared it with me. It's really good. It's really simple. And what Joe just showed you was it wasn't the magic of the words. It was being present and willing to try something to turn it into a positive experience for the person on the other side.
Yep.
He wasn't worried if he sounded stupid. He wasn't worried if they were going to be like, "You're an idiot," or "I'm going to swear at him." He's not worried about that. He's just coming with this attitude that says, "Listen, this is true. There is a price drop. It is a good opportunity. It generally is neighbors and people like that that will be the buyers of it. And I am genuinely trying to share that with you." Right? I love, can we do the role play, Joe, real quick? Just like 10 seconds, what you say to someone when they tell you to F off?
I was literally going to ask you to do that with me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
All right, you
yeah,
ready? Ring,
yeah.
ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert. This is Joe Rosen. I'm a realtor here in your HOA.
Listen, I don't got time for this, man. I get just, dude, F off.
Hey, man, it sounds like you're having a rough day. I can understand that. Is it okay if I just shoot you one piece of information before I get off?
No.
Fair enough. Well, listen, I'm going to shoot you a text with some information about a new listing. If you're interested, great. If you're not, feel free to disregard. Have an amazing day, my friend.
You see,
And
I mean, he's like,
I
listen, you're
don't
gonna
give a
get my
damn.
message. What
Yeah,
you're gonna
next.
get my message either way.
Yep.
I didn't lose anything there, right? I mean, Joe didn't lose anything there. He created an opportunity. And Joe, speak from your experience. Have you ever converted any of the hostile people?
Yes. And I honestly tell agents, and maybe I'm making this story up in my mind, which I'm okay with because that leads to success too. I think people like that are easier to convert because I can get their real personality out. So a lot of times, and that's kind of my comeback is, man, I wish I was there in person to give you a hug. It sounds like you're having a rough day. When you say that, half the time, maybe more, they'll come back and say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a prick. It's just
Yes.
I get so many of you are blah 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 blah. And then they say, I'm sorry. What are you pitching? And then I give the pitch and I say, listen, I'm not here to sell you anything. If you're interested, great. I want to help you. If you're not, I'm just another salesman. Don't worry about it, brother. No big deal. And they'll
I
usually say, I apologize. Yeah, listen, I got a sister. Maybe she's interested. Maybe she's not. Call me back tomorrow and I'll tell you. Okay, cool. Thanks, Robert. Have an amazing day.
Yeah, I would argue from my personal experience, this is only relevant to cold calling. It's not the same as referrals or anything. Relevant to cold calling, that
Yeah.
the people that I've converted with the FU attitudes have been some of the best clients because I caught them at their worst, whether that's a short-term worst or a long-term worst. I caught them at their worst. They're embarrassed, but when they received something positive that turned them back around,
Yes.
they accepted it, which
Yep.
means they have a heart to change. They
Yep.
have a heart to actually build because clients who lie are a big problem and they're going to be way more difficult even if they have a smile on their face.
Yep.
They're going to be nightmares to work with. But someone who has a bad day, and people have bad days, but they can recover from a bad day, they can be honest and recover from a bad day, they typically will be easier to work with long term because they have some level of self awareness and accountability. They're willing to work through it, right? And so, like, I don't know, what's your experience with that, Joe?
Well, I just want to add two things. You have to be positive, all right? And you cannot show that you're offended. If you show that you're offended, they're going to come back more.
Oh
If you're
yeah,
anything other than
they
positive,
can smell the fear.
yeah, and it's you've got to, like Robert said, you've got to put a little bit of guilt in them. Like you're so sweet, so helpful, so non-offended that they feel bad and now they're going to open up to you. If you are offended or you're not positive or you're not sweet, that opportunity probably is not going to come your way, right?
Joe, let me throw this one out there. This is fun. And this is kind of my Christian nature too, guys. I'm very open about my Christian faith, right? So I had a client and they were an FU client, okay? And I didn't convert them and I didn't make them laugh. They
A
were just
what
having
client?
an FU client.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I didn't convert them on the call. They didn't laugh. Like nothing worked. They were just in a bad place. I happened to be friends with them on Facebook, okay? And then it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, they turned around and were doing a fundraiser for their daughter. And I donated $100. I will kill you with kindness. You
Yep.
cannot if okay, and again, this is my faith. If this is not you, that's fine. I'm just telling you where I come from. My mindset and why I'm resilient like this is that if Jesus can be whipped and nailed to a cross, right? And then love those people. I can deal with someone who's having a bad day and still support them. And that client ended up converting. Same one. That client ended up converting and they ended up sending me referrals and they
Yep.
are like an advocate. But it came from the fact that, and I didn't know this would happen, but I did it from my own brain, which is the kill him with kindness. I'm going to do this regardless, right? I don't care if Joe ever works with me or not. If he needs help and I can give help, I'm going to give him help, even if he wasn't nice to me. That's my belief, and I'm not going to let anybody compromise that for me. And so what happens is when I made that donation, they went and saw it weeks later and was like, hey, I just really wanted to say thank you. And I said, no problem. And then guess what they did? They said, by the way, I'm sorry about the thing that I don't really care about anymore, by the way. I've talked to a lot of people since then and had closings, and I'm busy, right? And I go, don't worry about it. Again, no pressure. Oh, well, the way we can make it up for me is let me sell you. No, I'm telling the truth. Don't worry about it. Not a big
Yes.
deal. We have
Yep.
bad days. Seriously. And they go, well, honestly, if I didn't burn a bridge, I'd still really love to talk to you about this
Yep.
thing. So what all this stems from, what Joe's telling you, and then Joe, feel free to share because we're there, is take a negative price drop. Take a negative cold calling, which people view as a negative thing. Take a negative of someone being reserved, closed off, rude, short. Take all of these negatives And you, yes, you, like a plant, you take that and you convert it into something breathable, something usable, something useful. And you will make exponentially more money because our gift as real estate agents, if we do our job well, is we take problems and we create solutions, right? And we get paid. The better we are at it, the more we will make, right? I think Joe does pretty well. I do pretty well. Most of the people that we work with do pretty well because we take problems and we create solutions. That's it. We put the subscribe in the newsletter, guys, where we'll send that for you. Let's quickly. Does anybody want to do a role play? We don't have a ton of people in the call, and I typically want to make sure that we have enough. So if you would like to role play this script, I'll drop the script for you too. But I want to make sure. If not, what we could do is just have Joe pick someone and who wants to role play, and Joe and them could do a role play right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I
but
say two things quick?
yes, go ahead.
Record yourself. And a lot of your CRMs will do this automatically, right? And go back and listen. Have somebody you trust who's selling 30, 40, 50 plus homes a year, listen to it and critique it, right? And take the critique, write it down, work on it. But I'll tell you, some of the biggest critique I give agents is their pitch is not just flowing out of their mouth perfectly. There's a lot of ums and ahs and awkward hesitations and incorrect words. And that's okay. It's completely okay. But if it continues your second call session the next day, your third call session the next day, what that means likely is you're not putting in the time and effort to work on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to keep having those problems. So to do that for a week, I get it. You're going to do it. If I'm coaching you, if I'm your team lead, I'm going to say, this is normal. Don't worry about it. On week 2, 3, 4, if it's still happening, I know you're not putting in the effort to listen to yourself and tighten it up. You're just not doing it. And I can't force you to do it. So you remember in the beginning, Robert and I were kind of going back and forth BSing. We were talking about that CEO mindset versus the employee mindset. Don't wait for somebody to tell you to do that. Okay, I'm telling you to do it. Do it, right? Listen to your calls, record your calls, or you can't, and then work on that. And the second thing I'll say is, I always tell agents success in real estate, in sales, is the amount of conversations you're having with people multiplied by your skill level. So you can have a horrible skill level, I guess that's this one, but if you're making a ton of conversations, if you're making 3 times the conversations I am and I'm better than you might beat me in sales because you're just out calling me, right? Or if you're making the same amount of conversations as me, but I've been going to role play, I've been working on my scripts, whatever, I've been doing this longer, my ability to convert through my communication skills is going to make my sales higher.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you do something like make 3 to 500 dials every time one of those 5 things happen, which includes a price drop, you are not only getting more conversations in, which is a huge part of that equation, but you're slowly getting in like that Robert call where he told me to go F myself. Okay. But then I'm getting I'm getting in the accidental joke about maybe you don't want your sister living here. And I think, ooh, that worked. That was an accident. I got to copy that more. Anytime he brings somebody up, I'm going to make that joke.
Yes.
You don't get that by going to something like this. Like you might hear it, but it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to practice it. And because of your reps, you internalize it. So if you make these calls, your conversations goes up, your ability to convert goes up, your skills, which means your overall success goes up, and it is a snowball effect.
I, I, I'd be remiss not to say this too, right? So we talked about the cold calling. Um, who here feels the dread of cold calling? Anybody feel the dread? I don't want to cold call, or I've cold called and it's terrible, right? Anybody feel that? We can be honest here. I definitely did. Um, and what I've learned is that it's too much focus on me. Um, and that
It's
dread
all focused
often,
on you.
yeah, that dread
Yeah.
comes from what you're worried about, how you sound. The same why you won't do video. Same why you won't do the other things that you. I won't go to the gym because of this reason. I won't, and it's just like part of what I. This is going to be related. I promise you. Part of what my wife told me the other day that she loves me for is that I'm willing to make a fool of myself, and I don't care who is watching, including her. I will be the goofy dad who puts a bow in his hair and sings loud and off pitch with my daughter to create a moment because it's about her. Even if my very wonderful, lovely wife thinks I'm a fool for it, I will still do it in front of her. And I will still do it even when I have a guy friend over who's visiting after church. I will still do it even though they think I look like an idiot. And I'll still drive my 2017 paid off Kia Sportage, even though people in my income bracket almost always drive way nicer cars. I will pull up
Thank
right
you.
next to there and park. And I will walk
Yes.
in with confidence. And the reason why is it's not about me. I have a job to do and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to do it really, really well. And so I know that most, if not all of you, feel like, oh, this is cool, Joe, but I'm not you. So while I love what you're saying, I believe what you're saying, I'm not going to do it because it's not me. Here's the thing, a price drop is going to happen on your listings. Do you have a plan to turn that into success for your client and success for yourself? If you don't, I think you need to reevaluate where your priorities are. And I know that's a very heavy talk, but it's truthful. Because if your solution for price drops is just keep making your client lose money while you do nothing to actually protect their asset, which is make those calls, create those opportunities, that is an issue. Is it not your job to do the very best for your clients? So that's why I particularly teach this with price drops. I don't say you have to go cold call in general. I'm not saying that. That's a different conversation, particularly around price drops. This is something that you need to have, and you will convert more listings. 100% you will convert more listings when you can come in and say, here's what's happening in the market. Here's all these price drops happening. And here's my plan to make sure you aren't in the situation they're in. Price drops are probably going to happen, Joe. They're probably just going to happen. This is the truth, right? Even if we do everything right, they still might happen. That's what the market's telling us. But here's my plan. If we do a price drop, I'm going to be calling 500 people minimum to make sure that they know this awesome opportunity, the sacrifice you made on that price drop does not go unnoticed. And then all of a sudden the client goes, okay, I think he's got a plan. Because the other agents, the other three listing agents that I talked to, they didn't talk about price drops. And they didn't talk about the market, and they didn't talk about what they would do if this happens. Right? So I hope you're encouraged by that. Misa, go ahead and drop the newsletter again. We're running out of time, so I want to make sure you guys can get a copy of this script. We also put it in the chat, but it's easy to lose those links. So we'll put in the newsletter. We'll put in the slideshow here. There's a couple things we didn't go over just because of time. And my challenge for you for the week is to pull up your calendar, schedule a 2-hour time block to give yourself some time to really get into it. And the goal is, let's start with 300 dials because these are the numbers that Joe gave me. 300 dials to the closest neighbors of the price drop. You should get roughly 13% pickup rate. It's going to go a little percent high, percent low, right? That should be about 100 to 120 conversations in that range. 3 new appointments, 2 new listings. Now, this is the last thing I want you guys to do before we go. I want you to do the math right now. How much money would you make if you had 2 new listings? Okay, and they closed. How much money would you make? Drop it in the chat. I want to see those numbers. Okay? Drop in the chat how much money you would make if you had 2 more closings, 2 new listings that close. I want to see some numbers in the chat. Joe, what is it for you? What would the average be for you?
I mean, my average commission after fees and everything is a little over $11,000. So 2 sales is going to be $23,000.
So a couple bucks, nothing big, just an entire year's wage for some people. Just from this is a simple block of time. This isn't even like months of work, right? Abby says 10 to 15K. Bill, what about you? Linda, what about you guys? What would that number look like?
Robert, can I throw out two quick things and then I got to run here?
Yes.
Number one, if you do this and you do it for, say, 3 to 6 months or more, you now have this incredible tool when you go into a listing appointment where you can say, hey, I'm competing against someone else. Okay, cool. I'm going to show you two things. And I encourage you to ask the other agent about this because most agents do not do this. And all they do is list it on the MLS. Number one, I want to show you my database of 80,000 people. And then I'm going to tell you all the things that I already told you guys that I do with those 80,000 that helps you, the seller. I want you to ask that other
Hmm.
agent to show you, don't tell you, show you their database and how many leads they have, just like I'm showing you right now. Second thing, I make 650 to 700 dials a week on average. That's not a good week, that's an average week. And my whole team is doing that same thing for you. 99% of agents are not going to make that level of calls. Let me show you my phone. Here, this is since Monday.
Ooh,
Look at all these
dang.
calls
Show him
I've
the
made.
phone.
I haven't even gone through texts yet. I want you to ask that other agent to show you their phone and show you how many calls they've made since Monday. It's not going to look anything like this 99% of the time. Okay. So that is powerful in a listing presentation. Second thing I'll say,
Wow.
and then I got to go, but thank you, is anticipate what conversations, good conversations, are going to come up when you're doing the circle prospecting. I'm going to give you three that typically come up. You want to be prepared. Don't shoot off the cuff with this. Be prepared. Think this through. Number one, how is the market? You're going to get asked that every single time if you dial 300 people, you're going to get asked that three, four, five, six times. Be prepared. Do not come off the cuff with that. Number two, how is my neighborhood, my HOA specifically doing compared to the market? You better know the inventory levels. You better know the average sales price per square foot. Then you can ask them what their square footage is. Do you have a pool or not? How old is it? What's your roof look like? Okay, great. Then average is about 205. You're probably going to be at 210, 215 a square foot, roughly. Would you like me to get in there, take a look at it, and I can give you an actual value? And then the third thing is, what are mortgage rates looking like? And what do you think they're going to look like in the next 3 to 6 months? I don't care what your response is, but it better be educated and it better be prepared. If it's not, you're just not going to sound like that confident person, and confidence on your part instills confidence on their part, right?
Love it. All
That's it.
right,
I got
Joe.
to go, brother, but thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity. And thanks, guys. Go out there and kick some ass.
Let's do it. And you know, guys, where Joe is headed? Because I know Joe well. He's about to start his 2 hour block of calling, and he treats it reverently. So he will leave in the middle of a conversation because at that time he begins his calling. So that's what he's going to go do. Now I saw some numbers. Bill 20K, Linda 36K, Abby 10 to 15K. That is what you could put into your bank account just by doing these dials for a couple of days. We're not talking about a couple months, right? And by the way, most listings, what do they become after they sell their house? Buyers. And they usually buy in a higher price bracket statistically. So you can double that number that you just put in the chat. That's what you could make if you did the work just this week alone. Do you guys see that? How many of you would be very well off if you had 30 to 50K just in the next week? Would that not be a huge thing for you and your family? Okay. And to know that you could do this anytime you need the money, anytime you want to build it up. And here's what happens once you start to do this, you're going to become addicted. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this actually works. Because any one of you who have sold a home has felt that high, haven't you? I sold a home. Oh my gosh, I made 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, whatever it is. Right. All right, guys. Newsletters in the chat. Subscribe. Um, See you, Abby. See you, Bill, Linda. Subscribe in the chat if you haven't already. Join our Facebook groups. We'll keep blessing you. We'll give you a copy of scripts. We'll just keep pouring into you. I'm going to be very good on my time, and I will see you guys. Friday's the newsletter. Every Wednesday, we'll be back here, and let's have a good time. Okay. And then again, the subscribe is in the chat. That little link right there. Subscribe to our newsletter. That one. Okay. All right, guys. Bye.